Well, Premier League football is returning. And deep breath, gang, we're going to have to watch Chelsea Football Club try and take on what can only be described as a really informed Guardiola Man City side. In a time where we desperately need points to achieve our target of Champions League qualification, which of course has now been confirmed to be a top 5 finish in the Premier League. Liverpool are 1 point above us, but we have a much more superior goal difference. And let's be fair, Liverpool look absolutely pony, mate. And in fact, related to our next game, they just got slapped up 4-0 in the cup to Man City. We're going to get into that today. Rosinia has spoken to the media about who's available for this game. Can we beat the mighty Man City? And rather interestingly, he went into a little bit more detail on the Enzo Fernandez situation. Of course, he's been sanctioned a 2-game suspension from Chelsea. And that sanction isn't getting lifted for the Man City game. And it's no guarantee he's going to return immediately afterwards. It's very interesting to hear what Rosinia said. Not what I expected, actually. And we can try and sort of, pick the bones out of that. And also, will we see a different Chelsea side? Because he's had a lot of time to prepare for this game, and maybe with that, because we've got to be fair to Liam Rosinia, he was sort of slam dunked into a very sort of volatile situation, and started well, slipped, then it went badly. I've percolated and fermented some concerns about the Chelsea head coach more and more, actually, over time. Not that I'd love for him to succeed, and I really like him as a guy, but I do have concerns. But who knows? Now he's had a little bit of time, maybe he'll try something a bit different. And actually, a lot of people are interested to see a Chelsea side without Enzo Fernandez in. With Cole Palmer playing a conventional number 10 role with a proper double pivot of Caicedo and Santos, or Caicedo and Lavia. We'll build a team. We'll look at the Man City team and we'll speak about his comments in today's content. So welcome back to Football Therapy, gang. Man. But by the way, quickly, before we get into that, I do want to start with referencing the Strasbourg loss in the Conference League. It was away from home, 2-0 against Mainz. Could have been more. And of course, they take them back to France for the return leg. But I did, obviously, I decided to watch this game yesterday because I like watching every now and again to watch Mike Penders. Ben Chilwell was playing. He's not the same player as he used to be. Ben Chilwell was playing, but Valentin Barco, of course, it's been confirmed he's joining Chelsea in the summer. I've been pretty consistent and firm on my opinion with this, that I love him as a player, and I have long before he was going to, join Chelsea. It just seemed like because he played well under Rosinia and he's a Strasbourg star, that there's a chance he's going to end up at Chelsea. But I don't think we particularly, or maybe we do, maybe tacticos and smarter people than I will say he's the exact profile that we're missing in the midfield. But he is a diminutive, sort of all action everywhere, sort of inverting right back, but midfielder. But he occupies different positions all the time. So anyway, very quickly before we get into Chelsea, I did watch this game, and it was pretty impressive, actually. I'm just going to quickly screen share the sofa score here. Barco got a 7.1 rating, one of the highest on the, as you can see, Strasbourg team here. Penders got 7.8 in goal despite conceding 2. He is an impressive figure, I must say. When there was a big fight at the end, he just got in between everyone, and it's the classic, oh, there's a big goalkeeper, let's stop fighting. He's very, very young, of course. He's only 20, but he is impressive, Penders, to the point where I would, if you said to me, Jan, Sanchez or Penders next season as the first choice, without the option of buying someone new, I'd be like, yeah, Penders, bro. But Barco, look at his heat map. All over the gap. Excuse me. He's like a free roaming midfielder. That's not a number 10, but he does box crash. He does all kinds of cool stuff. I'm not suggesting he's the answer. We've been fed lots of briefs lately that Chelsea are going to sign lots of Premier League proven players, not necessarily old players, but maybe players within the league. And of course, we've been referencing a lot of speculation like Senesi and Murillo, and high performing Premier League experienced centre backs that maybe would do well in the Chelsea team. We'll believe it when we see it, of course. The vibes meter has been not the highest for a long time now. I think all of us will agree. And of course, that could change or get a lot worse in this upcoming game. Which brings us on to the meat of today's content. Num, num, num. We are going to look at the press conference from perhaps not so fearsome leader, Liam Rosenior, who I do like him as, I think he's an impressive guy and probably a very good coach. Generally, if you listen to the people around football that's worked with him, he's meant to be a very good coach. But is he the man for the job at Chelsea right now? I just don't know. I don't know. But Bobby Vincent, that's all over the gaff there. Here we go, on his update from the presser that ended about 5 minutes ago at time of recording. So, of course, so I've got crazy hay fever. I've got an irritated gut. This is the most millennial thing I'm about to say ever. I've got an irritated gut, which has exacerbated my hay fever. What a loser. Right, here we go, mate. Fernandez latest. Here we go. He was asked about him. Naturally, it started like this. Had a really good chat with Enzo. 3 or 4 with him. Chats, that is. He's apologised to me, and he's apologised to the club. We'll deal with that after a massive game on Sunday. So he's kind of saying, like, it's not dealt with. Yeah, he says, we will deal with that after a massive game on Sunday. So, it's a serious meeting about something serious. I'm not questioning his character or who he is as a person, but I believe people make mistakes, and you can't overstep the punishment for the mistake. So like he's he's basically holding firm on that, and I kind of respect it really. And like I said, so he's not going to be available for Man City. A lot of people thought, he said sorry to everyone. He said sorry to the players, the management staff, the club. By proxy to the fans, I guess. Somehow he didn't do a social media post. He could have quite easily said, "Sorry guys, look, this means nothing. I'm dedicated to Chelsea." It would have been easy to do that, by the way, but he chose not to. Javier Pastore came out and continued to speak about it, like now he's the captain of Chelsea. He's important. Which might have been quite presumptuous on Pastore's position. Like maybe he's not a captain of Chelsea anymore. But hold on 1 second. Let me just get. Okay, so yeah, there's a little bit more on Fernandez. This is the big one, this is the juicy mouthful of the concerning steak. There are a few obstacles we still need to get through, but I won't go into that. He didn't sound, and if you've watched this press conference, gang, he didn't sound overly like, we've sorted this out, and Enzo's important for us, and he's going to be straight back in, and he's learned his lesson, like we did when, for example, with those problematic chants on the national team bus. They were like, look, he didn't know what he's doing, he's apologised, he's going to be an important player for us. It's interesting, because he did make him, by the way, I don't want to undermine what he did with all the national team. There's a big, structural racism problem with that kind of behaviour, so they didn't undermine it. I'm not undermining it, but they are like, he just doesn't know it's an education thing. He's going to donate money to charity. Whereas Fofana came out, he did the presser, it was fine. They were like, it generally, he didn't want to upset anyone, he just doesn't know culturally, this is an education thing. This isn't that. This obviously is I want to go to Real Madrid thing, sort of thing. So the fact how he's saying there's still a few obstacles we need to get through that. Not that he's learned his lesson, he's apologised, he'll be available for Man United. He's not said that. He says, well, there's some hurdles. My guy said hurdles to go over. So we got to do some hurdling before we can consider reintegrating Enzo Fernandez. I don't think they're happy with him still. I think there's conversations going on behind the scenes that whether he's, I don't know, said, I'm out, either informally or formally with a transfer request. But you've got Javier Pastore, his agent, saying he needs to play. There's a World Cup. He needs to play. He's dedicated to Chelsea. He's a captain. Maybe he's not a captain, Javier, bro. Not anymore. I don't know. But, it's very interesting to see that this ain't done yet. And like I said, there'll be Chelsea fans that are annoyed by this. There'll be Chelsea fans that have been like, he's obviously contributed goals and assists, but there's a school of people that think Chelsea's midfield can be better. with like a different makeup. Do you know what I mean? And I talk about the PSG midfield and stuff. You don't have like necessarily box crashes like Enzo Fernandez. You have this functionality to get the pretty much like the prime Klopp Liverpool. Although I think Enrique's PSG is better than Klopp's Liverpool. And Klopp's Liverpool in their prime were very good, but it was very functional midfield three, a false nine, and then all the productivity from the wingers and the fullbacks. But you get rather than what Chelsea are doing with baiting the press and having a box crasher and all this kind of stuff. So maybe. I'm not saying we're going to have a functional midfield three because Cole Palmer's our star and he's a number 10 and he's not going to do like an Ousmane Dembele false 9 thing. And maybe he will one day, who knows, stranger things have happened in football. But maybe you don't have this like box crasher that plays in the left pocket and you have a proper double pivot, a proper number 10. So a lot of Chelsea fans are just interested to see how it goes. And that's not to undermine Fernandez, who is a world-class player who has been putting in good numbers. It's more of we've been on a losing run. He's been in the team. There's been like banter and memes like, oh look, the one game Fernandez comes out for, we win 7-0. Obviously that's nonsense. It was Port Vale at home. But it'll be interesting just to see. And yes, he scored the equaliser against Man City in the reverse fixture. Not undermining what was an excellent talent. I'm just interested to see where this goes. So let's move on. Team news, it's positive. The positive is Estevao is having 90 minutes against Port Vale. He looked really good. Of course, it was Port Vale, but we know he can look good against good opposition like Liverpool and Barcelona. So not to undermine that superstar Brazilian Samba boy kid. Trevo's working really well. He's back on the pitch. Levi still has a few hurdles to clear. A lot of hurdles today. By the way, it's not in this Bobby Vincent update, but he basically says players on the grass, Trevo, Levi, Reece James, but none of them are available for this game. So, Of course, Callum McFarlane got a result away at the Etihad with that equaliser from the banned Enzo Fernandez. I spoke to Callum when I joined the club. I was watching that game in the airport when he was on the way to come and speak to Chelsea to get appointed. So he obviously will chat to how much? I don't know. McFarlane was plucked out of the youth setup. I doubt McFarlane has a long-standing, meticulous analysis of Man City, but obviously he got a result against Pep. I would also say that was a very different iteration of Man City than what we'll probably be facing tomorrow, which we're about to get into. He glazed Guardiola for a little bit, like they always do. Significance of the Man City clash is big for them, but it's big for us as well. Can Chelsea beat City? Of course we can. We're a very good team. We've gone through a difficult run. When I analyse the games we've had, we've caused every team problems, but not had the results for that. We've also caused ourselves the problem. Caicedo to make his 100th appearance, which is great. He's the best defensive midfielder is the best defensive midfielder in the world. More Guardiola glazing, having a clear week. It's been nice. It's been the first week since I've been here. We've had 2 clear training sessions in a row to work on things. You can't change too much too soon, and that's something I've looked at with my staff. Are the players mentally refreshed? Yeah, they look really good, he says. The way we went about our game against Port Vale. Port Vale. Can we stop talking about Port Vale now? It was a great palate cleanser, but let's stop, shall we? It was very good, and hopefully that springboards the rest of our run-in. He talks about our poor record. We haven't beaten Man City in like 6 years or something. No, 5 years. Since the Champions League final, which by the way is mental, and that includes Tuchel, because Tuchel was still here for a season and a bit after that, so we've been poor, man. Also, what people forget was Tuchel beat Pep 3 times in a row: League, FA Cup semi-final, and then the Champions League final in a short period of time. But we were in a bad run of form before we won the Champions League for the second time. We were all going into that like, well, we're screwed. Kind of like when Maresca went to the Club World Cup final against the PSG quadruple winners. Shows you Chelsea can do it and they're up against it. But we were in poor form under Tuchel. There's a lot of revisionism that we were just some sort of high-flying team for ages. But, always is, isn't there, with football. He does talk about the Man City record being in the past and it has no relevance on the game. I would argue there is relevance, and that's all. I would argue there is relevance, but no. Yeah. Look, We just talk about Man City then, shall we? We have to do it. We have to look at them. This is their last game. James Trafford, who was excellent in goal for that and the cup final against Arsenal, who I've been saying on the channel we should consider looking at. Of course, I think we look at the same team, except, of course, Gianluigi Donnarumma coming in goal. So it'll be Donnarumma, Mateus Nunes, who's finally sort of made himself a serious player at Man City. Kusanov and Guehi, good talented players. We know Guehi's very good, but the partnership is new. Nico Riley, who's in scintillating form, getting both goals in the Carabao Cup final, getting an assist in the battering of Liverpool. He will start for England for my money. Very, very good player. A double pivot of Rodri and the Bernardo Silva farewell tour. Of course, this is his final season. Cherki in the number 10, who got an assist against Liverpool. Doku, who apparently has 7 goals in his last 4 years. I apologise for saying that, because that means he's going to score against Chelsea. But 7 goals in 4 seasons is mental. So yes, he'll probably score against us. Cherki in the middle, and of course the high-flying and scintillating Semenyo, who I would have loved Chelsea to sign. But then again, we need more left-sided players than... Right, he got a goal and assist against Liverpool. And just in time, Erling Haaland finding his scoring touch, bagging a hat-trick in the FA Cup. High-profile clash against Liverpool. But again, Liverpool, this is the team we're fighting for 5th place with, and we have both looked pretty bad. I mean, Liverpool look rough, bro. That is a little positive thing. But, we could talk about who's behind us in the table. I mean, we'll look at the table after this game, I think. It's probably the best thing to do. But, but let's build a lineup. Okay, we know Man City are good. It's pointless for me showing you that and being like, oh, look how good they are, because we know that. Right, here we go. So we'll do the shape as a 4-2-3-1 as usual, but it will probably merge possibly into a box midfield with a back 3. We see that quite a lot. Be interesting to see if that is the case in the absence of El Capitano, Enzo Fernandez. So Caicedo, let's put him in first. 100th appearance for Chelsea. I think he'll be wearing the captain's armband. Of course, in the absence of Reece James and Enzo Fernandez. And of course, we've seen Palmer wear. I mean, it would be really interesting, actually, if Palmer wears the captain's armband against Man City. But I think because it's 100th appearance and he's worn it a bunch before, it's only fair to, give Caicedo the armband. Of course, it's got to be Robert Sanchez in goal, because that's all we have, sadly. It's going to be Gusto right back. Yep. And it's going to be Cole Palmer in the number 10 position, baby. Now. Joao Pedro is going to be the striker. You can put the farm on that, mate. So these, for me, are your bankers. And you're probably thinking, what, no Cucurella? And yeah, probably Cucurella. But Hato has looked good. And some Chelsea fans are starting to think long-term about what Hato could offer Chelsea, maybe more than perhaps Cucurella can't. But Cucurella is the man for the big occasion. I'd probably want him coming up against Semenyo a little bit more than, of course, Hato at the moment. Though Hato, I think, is, genuinely doing good stuff in the back, getting better and better. Now, centre-backs is tough. No Trevoh Chalobah. Apparently Joshua Jampong is still not trusted. A lot of people are speculating Tosin will come in as a bit of a, I think Tosin would just get turned inside out. It has to be Fofana. I know he's been in stinking form, but he's so fast, and he's the only one that can get back and run with Haaland and, and Semenyo or whatever. And, he probably knows Cherki's game for playing at youth level with him and stuff. I don't know. I guess he's a few years older now, Fofana, than Cherki. Maybe not too much older. Anyway, I do think it will be Fofana, and I think it will be left boot, Badia Shield, I want to see. I think it will be Mamadou Sarr. Especially because he's been at Chelsea for a while. He's had a lot of time to prepare for this game. Both French speakers, Senegalese, French. I'm sort of clutching at straws for reasons here now, but that's what I think. Now, I did an interesting discussion on the London is Blue podcast with CFC Central Sam and Dan, talking about the wingers, how Neto could be really important to help basically on that left flank, get back and defend. Reece James is a better defender than Gusto, but Gusto does get back and can defend. But I think, as much as Chelsea fans might not want to see this, I think Neto is going to be used because O'Reilly comes forward a lot, and there's been so many overloads of Nico O'Reilly at left back. I think you just need, we all want to see Estevao on the right. Spoiler, I am going to play him on the left. And the great thing about Neto is he can comfortably play on the left, so there'll be phases in the game where you just switch them. So if Nico O'Reilly's not getting forward that much, or say Gusto's having a really good game, and you feel like defensively, actually, we're doing quite good work here, I want to get the best out of Estevao, you just go bang and swap them. And then Neto still can do a job on the left, you know what I mean? And then that really just leaves the pivot, and it's between Lavia and Santos. Now, Santos had a good game against Port. If I had to choose a style of player to partner Caicedo in a game like this, I'm going to go Lavia. I know this might be wild, and it's more of a risk than Santos, but I think the payoff could be higher, and we find a way to play through Man City, and we beat them. If you're playing for a draw, I think you play Santos, which is kind of ironic, really, because Santos is the one that scores goals out of both of them. But in terms of, getting the best out of the players in front of them, playing the passes that will Palmer and Estevao will want, and indeed João Pedro, I'm going for Lavia. But if Santos starts, I've got no issues with that at all. Guys, I think we might get touched up in this game. I think we might. I hope we don't. I am going to predict a 2-2 draw to Chelsea, which, if somehow Liverpool lose, we will go above them on goal difference. Yeah, that's nice. So that is nice. But I do have great concerns. I mean, smart money, of course. The bookies will be like, yeah, Man City, they're going to destroy Chelsea or beat Chelsea comfortably. I am going to say that 2-2 draw goals, and then we just pray for Arsenal and Liverpool losses. So that's Man City gaining a point on Arsenal in the title race. That's us going above Liverpool in the top 5. That is the, to be honest, the ultimate scenario is we just beat Man City 5-0 them. We go, oh my God, we're great! But we got to live in a reality land here, friends. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Leave them down in the comment section. As always, I'll thank you for joining me here on Football Therapy on YouTube. Thank you for liking and subscribing on YouTube and maybe dropping some of them sweet hype points if you got them. And of course, check out Football Therapy Podcast for this in podcast format on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I'm grateful for your follows and 5 stars on there too. All right, mate. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the football if you can. See you soon. Peace.